We open in the busy city of Los Angeles. A family, the Harrises, are stuck in traffic. Their mom, Eve, is a helicopter mom and an office manager, who is dropping her kids, Izzy and Josh, to school. Eve says that she is very tired and Izzy thinks that maybe she should give their dad another chance, to which Josh opposes. Eve gets a text on her cell phone from her boss about her being late, when nearby, a dog begins to bark aggressively at apparently nothing. Suddenly there is a huge crack in the street. The traffic director and nearby cars are suddenly swallowed into a large growing sinkhole, swallowing buildings around. Chaos erupts and Eve hits reverse until they crash. They exit the car to join other people who are hauling ass to safety. Josh stops to help a little girl but ends up being knocked down. Eve realizes that Josh is not with her and turns to see him get swallowed into the earth. Before she can run away, the ground beneath her gives way but Izzy catches her. Realizing that they both are in danger, Eve lets go of Izzy and tells her to run before falling to her apparent death. Izzy turns and runs as fast as her prosthetic leg can carry her. As an entire portion of the city disappears. On another side of town, Gavin, Eve's husband, sits in his car, having what seems like visions of a huge bird. He heads into the U.S. Air Force Base for a meeting regarding possibly getting back into the Army as a pilot. The interviewer explains that in his file she read that he started seeing things after a crash a few years ago, but Gavin lies that he hasn't had an episode in a long time. He explains that he just wants to help and the interviewer tells him she will see what she can do. He heads out into the lobby where he sees a news report on the sinkhole, then gets a call from a frantic Izzy. He immediately heads over to her to comfort her and she explains that Eve and Josh are gone. Just then, large prehistoric-looking birds begin to fly out of the sinkhole while people look on shocked. Eve opens her eyes in a daze. She recalls her falling and seeing a large light. She stands up to see a wide green landscape looking much like Earth and a large boulder with a handprint. In the sky, she sees a large green rift where she fell through. She begins to call for Josh and runs off, leaving her ring behind. She walks until she comes across a man and startles him. He asks if she knows where they are, and asks if she is real before Eve spots a large plume of smoke in the distance. She runs to see a large crowd of people, mangled cars and destroyed buildings. She sees Josh and the two hug in joy as they wonder where they are. They begin to meet up with a bunch of people. One Indian guy, Scott, is laughing his ass off, high as a kite. Riley, a young girl, and her father Sam, a surgeon and former Navy SEAL. But nobody knows where they are and speculates that they could be dead. Sam takes charge. He tells them that it will be dark soon and they should gather any supplies they can find. Eve then realizes that she lost her wedding ring and Josh leaves to go pee with Eve, warning him to be careful. Scott and Riley talk. He speculates that they should be inside the earth, but something else is going on. He questions why the cars were destroyed but everyone is okay, but obviously Riley knows nothing. Eve hears Josh arguing in the distance and goes to see him in an argument with a female cop, Mary Beth, accusing her of hiding protein bars. Riley and Sam are looking for food when they find a bag of white stuff inside a car and decide to pretend that they saw nothing. Eve and Sam come upon an unalive person in a car when a large wolf steps into the clearing. The entire camp is sent into chaos as more wolves appear. Sam panics and locks Riley out of a car, causing her to hide underneath. One man defends his family and gets dragged into the woods. Josh gets taken down, but a man carrying a gun shoots it before it can attack Eve. Josh ends up with a large gash in his side from the attack and is in pain. Sam runs to his aid, and they bring him inside a large bus. He tells Eve and Riley to find antibiotics and sutures. Like, where would they find that? Back on the surface, reporters are gathered as Dr. Sophia, a USDA agent, gives an address about the situation. She informs them that no rescue mission has been planned because no one could have survived that fall, as Izzy and Gavin look on in tears. She informs them though that a military-grade drone will be sent out to investigate the sinkhole. Gavin holds Izzy but has a vision of Eve. He tells Izzy that he saw them and about the birds but cannot explain it any further, but knows that there are people alive. Dr. Sophia then talks to Dr. Adam about hating to lie to the families. They head into a tent where they look at live footage of the drone approaching the rift at the bottom of the sinkhole, but the feed disappears as it gets close. Inside the rift, Eve has located a first aid kit and tries to calm Josh down as Sam attends to his wound. He tells her outside that they need sutures and antibiotics or he will be in a bad situation soon. Eve remembers seeing an ambulance fall into the sinkhole and wants to find it, and Dr. Velez offers to help her search. Later in the woods, the man from earlier is alone. He pulls out his gun in desperation and prepares to end himself, when Eve and Dr. Velez come upon him. She persuades him to put his gun away and tells him the situation. He says he saw an ambulance and leads them. On the surface, Gavin tries to talk to Dr. Nathan but the security tells him to go away. They meet Izzy's aunt, Jessica, when Gavin has a vision of the drone crashing and the tail number. He spots Dr. Nathan and Dr. Adams and tries to talk to them. They don't believe until he tells them about the drone and tells them the tail number. He won't tell them how he knows this info, so they leave saying they need to investigate him. Gavin, Izzy and Jessica return to Eve's home. He tells them that he saw Eve next to a boulder with a handprint and looks through pictures saying that he saw the boulder before. Jessica tells him that what he is seeing is not real and Izzy gets upset with him and leaves. Gavin finds the picture of the boulder and heads out. Inside the rift, the three are walking and the man introduces himself as Ty, a therapist. Eve tells him that she thinks that this is her fault, but he tells her that she cannot control everything. They then see a large sculpture of an elephant that was in the park nearby on the surface, and Ty says they are close. Gavin drives until he finds the boulder at night. He begins to dig when Izzy and Jessica turn up and tell him to stop and come home. He explains that he saw a street sign behind Eve in his vision, and thinks that if he digs he will find the same sign. He is about to leave when he spots Eve's ring that fell from around her neck and shows it to Izzy, telling her that Eve is alive. Later, Riley is keeping an eye on Josh when Scott comes to apologize for leaving her to die at the hands of the wolf. He offers to keep an eye on Josh and allow her to rest. Mary Beth is looking through a van when she spots a flare gun and fires it into the sky. Nearby, a man in animal clothes sees the flare. On his back is the same handprint as on the rock. On the surface, Dr. Nathan gets a report on one of the large birds that flew out of the sinkhole. It is called a Teratornis mariami, an extinct species. In the rift, the trio find the ambulance. Sam runs inside and begins to gather supplies. Eve then realizes that the hills nearby are the Hollywood Hills and thinks they are still in Los Angeles. Suddenly a large saber-toothed tiger comes out of the bushes snarling at them and they haul ass. Ty tells the two to run while he stands and shoots, finally taking down the saber. Another one appears and Ty joins the two in hiding under a ravine while the saber snarls overhead. Back at the camp, Riley checks on Josh to see that his wound is worsening, drawing a circle around it to check if the infection is spreading. Back at the ravine, Eve wants to get to Josh while the two try to tell her that it might be dangerous. She convinces them to head out and don't you know it, a saber grabs Sam and dives with him over a ravine. Another saber attacks them but lands in a hunting trap and they realize that someone else might be out there. Gavin is having a flashback. He remembers crashing while in the Air Force and his family coming to look for him. He tells Eve that he saw something when he was in the sky, flashes of another place, and thinks it might be a concussion. Izzy joins him as she can't sleep. He tells her that her mom is alive in the same place that he is seeing and he can prove it. Ty and Eve head back to the cliff that Sam fell off, and Eve realizes that he fell off the cliff with all the medical supplies. In the present, Dr. Nathan wants to send an exploratory mission to the rift, however the USDA chiefs refuse to do so without concrete evidence. She looks at Gavin's file. Gavin and Izzy head to a university to speak with a Dr. Shen that he saw from the news, and Izzy looks like she's about to run his fade. Gavin tells him that the birds are from the past, but Dr. Shen tells him to cut the bullshit. Gavin shows him Eve's ring and tells him to carbon date it and it will prove everything. Meanwhile, two agents are watching him from a car. Inside the rift, Eve and Ty are still looking for Sam, who I'm pretty sure is dead. Back at the camp, Mary Beth is looking for a car to charge her phone. Scott tells her that should be impossible. She searches until she sees a Mustang and checks to see some white stuff in the back and realizes it belongs to her son. She asks nearby sisters if they have seen the owner. The older sister, Veronica, asks her to stay with the younger, Lily, while she goes and bury her father, who was dinner for the saber. Eve and Ty somehow find Sam and hear a roar nearby. They try to lift him up but the tiger broke his back and he tells them to leave him and go. He hands her the back with the supplies but Eve won't leave him and picks him up. They walk a distance before Sam needs to rest. Ty tells her to go on and he will help Sam along and she reluctantly does so. At the camp, Scott tells Riley that he needs a bathroom buddy. So many people around and he chose to ask her, and she tells him to go to hell. Veronica comes by and sees Scott's shovel and asks to borrow it to bury her father. He tells her that she stands no chance but she begs him for his help. The two head out and locate a footprint, and continue till they see a bloody tree bark. Riley is checking up on Josh when he passes out. Eve turns up and give him the antibiotics. On the surface, Dr. Nathan and Dr. Adam talk about Gavin. She wants to use him to help them get more evidence about what is happening in the rift. Gavin gets a call from Dr. Shen, and learns that someone stole the ring. As he tries to head over, a vehicle pulls up and the agents from before tell him to get him or they'll put him in. Scott and Veronica are still searching when he decides that they should split up, which is always a bad idea. He heads up a hill and is amazed at something. I think it would be dinosaurs, but turns out the dude really loves camels. He stops them from running into the tar pits before realizing that it's the same tar pits in LA. Veronica then spots her father's body in a hand-shaped stone structure. Scott tells her to leave and she starts to dig to bury him there. Gavin is taken into a room where he realizes that Dr. Nathan and Dr. Adam are there to greet him. They tell him that they needed his wife's ring to prove their theory. They also tell him that the ring carbon dates back to 10,000 BC and Gavin tells them that he can see the same place in his visions. Dr. Nathan tells him that on the date of his crash, another sinkhole opened in the Mojave Desert and the same rift showed up there as the La Brea sinkhole. Scott then returns to the camp to tell Riley of all people what happened. Like, dude, who cares about your love for camels? Go away. Sam then returns to the camp, helped by a guy in a green jacket. Mary Beth sees the man and he turns out to be her son. On the surface, Dr. Nathan brings Gavin to see a state-of-the-art aircraft they have been developing. She tells him that she needs him to fly the plane into the rift to find out what's happening. In 10,000 BC, Josh is feeling much better from the meds. Eve checks on Sam but Riley is being an itch and blames her for leaving her dad to die. Outside, everyone is lining up to collect ration food. Mary Beth is pissed at what she got, like she doesn't have those stolen protein bars, and tries to step to Josh when he points this out. One guy grabs a protein bar and Lucas, Mary Beth's son, promises to run his fate if he doesn't return it. Just then a large CGI beast comes walking out of the forest and everyone scatters except the traffic cop whose legs forgot their purpose. The beast is not attacking though and just helps them with the rest of their rations before moving on. On the surface, Dr. Nathan needs Gavin to tell her everything about the place, as her team is building a map of what LA would have looked like in 10,000 BC. Gavin volunteers to be the pilot but Dr. Nathan reminds him that he is retired. Gavin then recommends someone called Levi and Dr. Nathan agrees to this. Inside the rift, this movie has more scene skips than a hormone movie. Scott, being a total nerd, begins to tell them that the animal is a giant sloth, and tells them that they may have traveled to 10,000 BC, and Eve agrees, referring to the rift in the sky. Seeing that their food is all depleted, Eve tells them that they have to hunt. I guess they have all the experience since they are from LA. Now we're back on the surface again. Sorry if you're dizzy at this point. Levi is having a flashback of when he visited Gavin and spoke to Izzy, and there's definitely some tension there. He turns out to be the worst friend, as he doesn't even try to help Gavin with his visions and suggests that he's crazy. So he turns up at the Air Force Base and the two greet each other, and he feels like an idiot now that Gavin's visions actually were real, before heading off with Dr. Nathan. Later, Lucas and Mary Beth are in the woods together. He shows her the trap the tiger fell into the day before, and tells her that someone came to remove the tiger and reset the trap, and he is going to find that person to know where they are. At the camp, Gavin explains to Riley that he can't feel his legs. That's what she said. He tells her that he needs her to drain the pooled up spinal fluid or else he may never walk again. In the woods, Eve and Ty have caught a rabbit and turn to see a mean grizzly looking at them. They take off sprinting and crawl into a nearby cave, and the bear causes the entrance to the cave to collapse. Good work, Ty, good work. He is not able to move the rocks and they turn to see a light approaching them. It is Levi and Mary Beth, who's miraculously ended up in the same cave. What are the odds? Riley then runs to Scott and Josh and asks for their help with her dad. She needs alcohol and they decide to check around for anything, and Scott has an idea. He brings the white stuff from the Mustang. Like, what the hell, dude? He suggests that Sam take it to help him out, and Sam is too quick to agree, saying he'll take just enough to dull the pain. Sam then takes the white stuff and gives Riley instructions on where to insert the needle. But dude passes out before he can finish giving the instructions. Riley is successful in drawing the fluid from Sam but can't wake him up. On the surface, Dr. Nathan presents a map of 10,000 BC LA. Gavin begins to point out landmarks from his vision and they locate a landing spot close to where the survivors may be. Izzy then calls to see Levi. Like, dude, he is either breaking your daughter's back or Eve's, but somebody's back is being broken here. Inside the cave, the four find an algae-covered pool, and Ty explains that the presence of algae means that light is coming in somewhere. They start to decide if they should, but Ty dives in. They wait nervously until Ty re-emerges, telling that he found the other side, but there's something else they must see. They come up on the other side of the pool and find a corpse wearing a t-shirt with the Mojave College logo, and realize that if he couldn't find a way out, then they don't stand a chance. But that would end the movie, right? So somehow they find a way out where that guy couldn't for many years. What an idiot. Eve then spots some mushrooms on a tree and decides to eat it. Maybe she should take some for Joe Rogan if she should return. The four then finally return to the camp and hand out the shrooms and lie that they saw nobody else out there. Up top, Levi is setting up his flight plan when Gavin comes in. He asks Levi to get everything off his chest before he goes, and I was right. It turns out he's been smashing Eve's cheeks while Gavin was having visions. Guy can't even have visions without his wife giving away the cooch. Levi then heads out, telling Gavin that he will bring his family home. Of course he will. He that taketh her back, breaketh her back. Inside the rift, Eve looks at pictures on her phone until her battery dies. Ty then comes over and tells her that he has a brain tumor and had a gun so that he could end himself. He saw the man in the cave and doesn't want to end up like that, so he asks Eve to hold on to his gun. Eve then confesses that she may have a brain tumor too, because she had the nerve to have her back broken by her husband's best friend and feels guilty. Levi is in the aircraft and comes over the sinkhole. He begins to descend and shit begins to hit the fan. He loses control of his engines and disappears from comms. We then see him stuck in a tree. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, so you can watch more movies like this. Thanks for watching.